You're listening to We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation, and I'm your host, Crystle Johnson. We are a community of Black women demanding our collective liberation through radically soft living. Each week, we share the stories of Black women who have set themselves free from the expectations of others and are living on their own terms.
Almost imagine digging my feet into the sand of the beach. Really get yourself grounded. And then what you're going to do is put both hands on your thighs. And then you're just going to rock forward and back. And you might imagine someone has their hand on the small of your back and they're pushing you forward. And then they place both hands on your shoulders, pushing you back. And you can make this as big or small as you want it. And basically what this is doing is we are stimulating and activating your vagus nerve, which is responsible for calming you down, communicating to your brain that you feel safe. And it's a great way, again, to increase your mind-body awareness and just get into your body. And now what you're gonna do, there's only one more part to this, or two more parts to this. With your head kept forward, you're going to shift both of your eyes to look to the right at about 3 o'clock. So imagine 12 o'clock is the top of your head, so 3 o'clock is directly to your side. And you're going to keep on rocking forward and back. And what this is doing is it's lowering your blood pressure, lowering your heart rate. And again, there's nerves in your eyes connected to the vagus nerve. And why we're doing this is because sometimes when we're stressed, when we're in fight or flight, our vision narrows towards the tip of our nose. And the opposite happens, our blood pressure raises, our heart rate raises. So again, this is a great way to communicate to your brain that your body feels safe. And now look forward for a little bit to reset. And now we're gonna do that same look to our left. So both eyes looking to 3 o'clock to our left. Great, y'all are doing amazing. And then we're just gonna look forward again and slowly bring this movement to a close. And we'll take a collective breath in together through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And now just check in with your body. You can close your eyes, maybe bring your hands to your chest, to your belly, and just notice. Maybe notice some changes in your emotions, in your physical state. Maybe you don't feel anything at all, and that's okay. Your nervous system is thanking you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, blink your eyes open, and return back to the physical space. I know I feel a lot better, so hopefully that works for y'all.
Thank you. Snap, snap, snap.
Yeah. Clappers. I don't know if you want your clappers.
Okay. So we have some folks who are we're streaming this live. So we have some people that are live with us on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for those who are tuning in and obviously those who are in the room. My name is Crystle Johnson, and I'm the founder of Design Your Soft Life, as well as the host of We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation. And I launched We Ain't Dying for This because, frankly, Black women are dying. And we're dying because we're overwhelmed, because we're stressed, because we're trying to be everything for everybody. And this is really just a love letter to Black women to prioritize ourselves, to be still, all the things that we've already heard in this room today. So I feel like we're in the right space to have this conversation. And then Lauren, I'll give you the opportunity to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Lauren Dike. I am a diversity, equity, inclusion consultant, and also a wellness consultant for organizations, as well as a somatic breathwork coach. I am from New Jersey, so I am relatively new to Atlanta, but like Crystle, I have a huge passion for helping Black women. I actually started a 6-week program here in Atlanta for Black women to heal from the effects of misogynoir or gendered racism. Like Crystle said, we are dying at disproportionate rates because of our unhealed and unmanaged traumas and stress. It's so important for us to consider self-care almost like hygiene. And so just happy to be here, and I think we're in the right space for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to talk about resilience today. And I think that we often hear the word resilience, and I'm tired of people telling me that I'm resilient because it's often just about like, how do you work through the oppression that you experience? Like, how do you just get knocked down and then get back up again? But there's no conversation about all the things that we need to heal. So if your boss is racist or whatever, like the ism, whatever the ism is that your boss is doing to you, that behavior, you might snap, you might go off, but the thing is that that thing that they're doing might not even be about them. Like, your reaction may not be about them. It might actually be about something you experienced as a child that is now showing up for you, and you're reacting in that way to a lot of different things in your life. So you created these behaviors as a child to keep yourself safe, but now they're really just wreaking havoc on your life. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about, like, historically, your experience with resilience, and like, how does resilience show up for Black women?
Yeah, so I think for me, historically, resilience has been pushing down my emotions, pushing down my need to ask for help, normalizing the stress and trauma I was going through, because it was a normalized conversation, and the Black woman in my family did the same. So it was almost like I was perpetuating those practices. When we look at Black women in a whole, and I'm a visual learner, so I did make some oh, I'm going backwards. Okay, here we go. Okay, so when we think about resilient is a construct, right? And so when it comes to Black women historically, when we think back to times of slavery, we'd have to endure oppression, getting raped, working on the fields with our men, and then after that, when we're tired, being the caregivers and taking care of the household. And we had no choice but to be resilient because we were living in such oppressive times. And then post-emancipation, now women are single mothers, and they're still supposed to work multiple jobs and be the backbone of their families. Continuing to normalize pushing down those stressors, and then also perpetuating those traumas intergenerationally through the womb. So when we hear the word resilient when it comes to Black women, we usually think of these things, right? So it's suppression of emotions, resistance to vulnerability, everyone's caregiver, constant adversity. And it's almost like we're rewarding these things when we're calling Black women resilient, and we shouldn't be. So there's been a lot of research around this, and I think there was about 900 studies on it, and someone narrowed it down to about 9, and they said, okay, if we're gonna call Black women resilient, let's reframe it to skin deep resilience. So it's something that is very similar to the nervous system resilience that I talk about. And if Black women have all of these pillars within their life, so community safety, quality of healthcare, access to healthcare, spirituality, self-efficacy, and self-worth, then let's call them resilient, right? Let's call ourselves resilient and say it proudly. But until then, we can't keep on perpetuating this narrative that it's normal and okay to not get help and to not heal from our traumas or not create time to heal from our traumas. And I was someone that was very guilty of it, and it literally, it took me waking up every day with heart palpitations, crying every day, face full of acne to be like, I can't do this anymore. And I was forced into rest. But we don't have to force ourselves into rest, right?
Yeah, I really resonate with that for my own reasons, but also, Dominique, you talked this morning about, which was a very powerful story, so thank you so much for that, how stress showed up as disease in your body, and that is when it makes you sit down and actually rest and be still. I heard a story from someone recently who was experiencing a lot of negative behavior at work, and they continue to be resilient as we historically think about it, and they continue to push it down. And at some point, they decided, I have had enough. But even though they decided they had enough, their body then decided that it was just going to give out. Because now they're no longer in that space. And I believe what he said is that he was paralyzed for like 4 months. He was in the hospital. They didn't know what was wrong with him. But it was because he had been in that environment for so long. And although he took himself out of it because he had enough, his body then followed and was like, okay, we're done. We're done. We're not doing this anymore.
And what that really is, if you think of the primitive times, our bodies have evolved, but not that much, right? And so when you keep on pushing down stresses, ignoring them, it's almost like running from a tiger, and it's like, this isn't working, I'm gonna play dead. And so literally that shutdown is either the body playing dead and saying, I've had enough, I need to recover, or sometimes it can look like depression and isolation. But your body is always speaking to you from your nervous system, because if it doesn't feel safe, if it doesn't feel protective, it feels like it needs to rest, it's going to force you into that. So it's really powerful.
We don't want that, y'all. We don't want that for you. We don't want that for you. So let's talk a little bit about the science and actually the deep breathing exercise we did and the somatic exercise we did with the rocking and the looking side to side. Also, when you said that looking at your nose raises your blood pressure, my invasive thoughts were, look at your nose, look at your nose. So tell us a little bit more how that is connected back into resilience.
Yeah, so I'm going to try, I have a habit of getting too sciencey, and I'm trying not to do that. So basically, the high point is your body receives 80% of its safety signals from the body. So if your nervous system does not feel safe, your mind is not going to. And that's why we always say therapy is so important and so necessary. Meditation is so necessary. But some people, if their nervous systems are dysregulated or overcome with stress, therapy, mindfulness is not going to be as effective as it can be. And so somatic exercise and somatic movement, I love it because in as little as 3 to 5 minutes, you can start to heal from trauma, you can start to discharge trauma from your body, and that's gonna set you up for even more success when you go to therapy, when you're doing mindfulness, and all of those things. I think also Black women need to understand that we have the highest allostatic load of any other demographic. And what allostatic load is the wear and tear of stress on our bodies. And these stats are basically showing how we're sicker and disproportionately sicker than any other demographic. You all have the slides probably, but it's quite jarring. But basically, I just want to break it down to how it happens. So allostatic load is wear and tear of stress on our body. And so what happens is we all think of our bodies as like a bucket, and every day you wake up with a certain amount of water level in your bucket. And then you get little stressors that are normal, like sitting in traffic, getting a nasty email, getting in a fight with your boss, right? And as Black women, it might be a microaggression or a little overt racism. And ideally, you want to drain that bucket and pour it out every day. But when you don't, the water starts to accumulate, and that's when we see what we call, the CDC calls weathering in Black women, or the little breakdown of our health, and you get burnout, you get sicker, you get inflammation. And so the somatic movement is essentially draining the water from your body. And that's why it's so important. I call this hygiene, to do it daily, because we're not only unpacking our stress and trauma, but our ancestors. You know, post-traumatic slavery syndrome is a real thing. Our moms and dads did not have opportunities to heal and discharge their trauma. So it's so important as Black women, as Black people, to release this trauma somatically. And that's a lot of what my work is all about.
Yeah, and I know you're going to share with us in a minute about tips for folks to take to release some of that pressure. But I want to call out one thing that I've actually done to support with that as well. So I have been talking with therapists for years, and I don't know about anyone else in the room, but talk therapy does not work for me. And yeah, it's because I want to show up perfectly. Like, I want to show up like a shiny penny. And when you're in therapy, that's not how you should be showing up. You should be showing up raggedy. You should be showing up to like what is it that I'm struggling with? But for some reason, because we've been conditioned to just, as Black women, be on 10, always be on, never like give people the opportunity to see you weak. Even in therapy, I'm showing up like that. It was terrible. So the type of therapy that I've been doing is EMDR therapy, which has been super helpful for me, where it is somatic, where I'm doing different like eye movements and things like that have been helpful for me. And now talk therapy works for me with my therapist, because I've kind of addressed some of the underlying issues and been able to get there through EMDR. So what are some other tips that you would recommend for folks who are trying to drain and release the pressure?
Yeah, so there's literal somatic exercises you can do, and if getting a coach, if looking up on the internet is not accessible,
Lauren's your coach. Get Lauren as your coach.
accessible or of interest to you, basically what you need to know is the vagus nerve runs through the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest. So any chance you can get to exercise it, because in a lot of us when we're overly stressed, our vagus nerve is just shut down or not operating optimally. So if you can do simple things like the rocking, right? You can do this anywhere. Humming, so breathing in, and then on your exhale, just humming. That's going to activate your vagus nerve. Massaging your earlobes. There's a lot of accessible ways that you wouldn't think to do it, but by doing it for, 3 to 5 minutes a day, it starts to heal your nervous system and speak to your nervous system, because your nervous system doesn't speak in words, it speaks in what we call neuroception, or your concept of physical safety using all 5 senses. And so you need to speak to it in a different language than you would your brain.
I love it. Has anyone ever practiced any of those things that Lauren has mentioned? Okay, good. Well, if you haven't, subconsciously.
Yeah, like I'll do it subconsciously.
Mm-hmm. The ear part or the rocking or something else?
Just naturally knowing how to like heal myself if I feel I'm in a stressful environment. Like I'll just do certain practices. Like I wouldn't even know I'm doing them, but like when you guys describe like like doing this or just like touching yourself and just feeling your body and like I'm okay, like
And that you probably have a really strong interoception, which is mind-body connection. So your body like automatically starts to do it if you've been practicing enough. So that's great. Yeah.
And don't see it as weird. I know we talked about a couple of things today, and LaShawna has been like, I'm weird. Be weird. Because we want you to live, because again, we ain't dying for this. And
you're not dying for this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to again say thank you so much. This is actually the first in real life version of We Ain't Dying for This. So we creating legacy today and history for the We Ain't Dying for This live series. Thanks, y'all. We really enjoyed this conversation. I hope everyone's thinking about resilience in a different way. So not thinking about it in terms of how are you pushing things down and ignoring it, but actually releasing it so you can create those same types of practices for yourself, for your family, and your community around you. So thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all.